Welcome to Stories and Innovation in ALS. My name is Lisa Deegan, and I'm joined today by my co-host, McFinn Lovere. We're storytellers, and we've both been affected by ALS. We helped found a nonprofit called Everything ALS, whose mission is to bring citizen-driven research along with data technology and science to help accelerate treatments for ALS. This podcast brings together the stories of those affected and those who are helping to accelerate treatments for this devastating disease. Today's episode, ALS Reversal number 42, shares McFinn Lovere's story and journey with ALS, as McFinn was diagnosed with ALS and then became one of the very lucky 52 plus cases that were documented at Duke University and being studied under the leadership of Dr. Richard Bedlack. McFinn, thank you for sharing your story today with us. I know it takes courage, and it's sometimes difficult to relive these experiences, but it's important. Your story is very important, and there's so many people that are really interested in learning more about your journey. So I'm happy that you are here with us today to walk us through how ALS touched your life. So with that, I'd like to get into some questions. So I want to hear how it entered your world, ALS, and what were some of the first signs that something just wasn't quite right?
Well, let's go to the first sign that something wasn't quite right, because that was actually about 5 months even before the first sign of my hand not working. I had a mental awakening inside that something wasn't right in my life. I didn't know what it was, but something was coming to get me. And that was in March.
Would you say this was a premonition?
Yes, it was.
Okay.
It came in March, and in September, I was building a kid house, which I had never built before. And I thought, since I was a toy maker, it'd be no problem. The people went bankrupt. They gave me the kit. They said, sorry, you'll have to put it together yourself. I started in September. I got everything up on the floor, but I couldn't get it level. So one day I told my worker, I said, listen, I'm very nervous. I can't get the floor level. I'm not coming to lunch. I went down in the woods and started to cry. It was so stressful. It's stress. Stress is what ticked it off. I went inside and I told Mona, I said, Mona, the building is driving me crazy. I can't do this. We have to get a contractor. It was 30 days later when I went to pick up the big trash bag. The grip of my hand did not function. And I was like, what is this about? And it slowly went up both of my arms. And one day I said, my friend came by and I said, watch me, I'm going to run. And I started to run and my legs just kind of wobbled back and forth. And that was it. It was like, okay, my legs aren't working. My hands aren't working. There's something up. So that was the first sign. And my medical doctor really didn't know how to handle it. It took about 2 months for me to get to a neurologist.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And once I did, the sad news started to reveal itself.
Wow. So 2 months to get to a neurologist right away. Was he like, I think I know what's going on? Or did this neurologist not understand what was happening to you as well? What was going on with that?
Well, when I first went to him, he read my records and he looked at me and said, I'm afraid that you're going to fall. I really think that you should be in the hospital. And I said, listen, I don't have medical insurance. He said, okay, come back in 1 week and I'm going to give you an EMG and we're going to find out what's going on. And 1 week later, I went back, and halfway through, I mean, they lifted me up, laid me on the table, put the needles into my nerves. Halfway through, the doctor said, I'm really sorry, but your nerves are dead and the rest of them are dying. And I'm going to stop torturing you. And so he took the needles out, and then he proceeded to tell me that I'm sorry, but I think in your case, you have 18 months of life left.
Whoa.
That, I don't know how any human being can come up with that kind of a number, but thankfully, he said, I'm going to send you for a second opinion
Okay.
to UC San Francisco Medical Center. And when I went there, I hate to say it, but I got the same answer. And they said,
And they said 18 months as well?
they just said, McFinn, you have ALS. I would like you to go to the Norris Center next door and get a consultation for a feeding tube. And I said, I don't
Wow,
have.
they went right into it.
Oh, well, I'm not sure. I'm sure that the doctors do everything they can, but in this case, since there is really no definitive, this is what ALS is,
Mhm.
they just took looking at me and looking at my test, and they said, we're sorry. And that was all. I mean, they wanted me to get the feeding tube, but
Mhm.
after that, it was, can you come back in 3 months and let us talk to you then?
So in their minds, were they thinking that this was a very progressive form of ALS? And that's why they were saying, okay, just there's nothing we can really do here. This guy's, it's coming on quickly. And is that what they're thinking? Because I only know, from what you're telling me, I don't know what's going on in their minds.
That's exactly what the doctor's report said.
Oh, okay.
The doctor's report said, I'm so sorry that this is coming on so fast. I'm concerned for his nursing care because he doesn't have medical insurance. So this started by the time I was at Dr. Laser in San Francisco, I was already in my wheelchair. So I started in my wheelchair in December. I went on vacation. I fell down and they had to put me in a wheelchair to bring me back from Mexico. And that was the start. So falling down, losing the strength in my hands, not being able to run, and then slowly everything drained away. And I had these two beautiful fingers left.
Yeah.
And I could move my head.
Yeah.
I could move like this. And that was it.
That was it.
That was it.
And you had your voice.
I did. Yes. Thank God I could express my anger and my frustration and my appreciation.
Yeah.
It's a real bouquet when you have ALS.
Yeah.
Your days are triggered by your attitude.
Yeah, 100%. So with this journey, okay, so you're now diagnosed. You figure, okay, it's the end of the road for me, or not know what's going on in your head. But walk us through, like, tell our listeners, what it was like for you to have ALS, and what was the most difficult part for you for going through this journey.
The most difficult part was I had just married my wonderful wife, Mona, 2 years earlier. And I had asked her to marry me for 3 or 4 years. And when she decided that it was time, then this came along. So Mona is the number one concern. And then our finances, because Mona had a sewing business and we would travel to fairs and sell beautiful handmade clothing. And she had to give up that business. So that, between the emotional drowning, I mean, this was when there's no answer and you're losing everything, your concerns are, you don't even know what your concerns are, because things are, you're basically helpless, and your concerns are, is there somebody who loves me enough to take care of me?
Which leads me into my next question, and I think I know what your answer is, but who is your biggest champion throughout your journey, McFinn?
Well, I have two, I have to say, to be strictly honest. Mona saw me all the way through, but Brett came into my life. The day Brett came in, it was maybe a week later, but the reason Brett came into my life was one day I was in bed and I had to pee, and I was calling out for Mona and she wasn't responding. She was in the shower.
Yeah.
And finally I'm screaming for Mona, and she walks into the room with a towel around her head and she says, "Can't I even take a shower?" I said, no. I said, I'm not going to pee in the bed.
Yeah.
And that was the day that I knew somebody had to help Mona.
Oh,
So
yeah.
we have a really beautiful, tight-knit community, and Brett was out there, and Brett came to live with us.
Okay.
Brett came to feed me, bathe me, brush my teeth, comb my hair, wipe my butt,
Oh,
make me get on the floor every day and squirm. I say, Brett, no, not today. He said, McFinn, today, now, come on. It's like that guy.
what a gift for you and for Mona. What a gift that,
Oh,
Mona didn't have to do all that. And because caregivers need care too, right?
Mona had a walkie-talkie. And so she
Mhm.
felt free that she could go anywhere on the property, do her gardening work, and Brett could tune her into whatever was happening.
Do you still see Brett a lot?
I do. I saw Brett at the post office the other day. I walked outside. I said, Brett,
Did you
Brett,
give him
it's
a
you,
big hug?
Brett. I said, Brett, I'm just writing about you in my book.
Oh,
And Brett was like, McFinn. So, that's going to be a lifelong, that was
sure. Oh,
15
that's a
years,
bond that nobody will
nobody.
get. Nobody. But I understand it because I saw that with my brother. So walk us through, because I know everybody's going to want to hear, how did it go from you're in a wheelchair, you have the use of two fingers, and you can do this and this. Tell us how the healing process began. What happened?
The healing process began outside of me because it was my wife who said, McFinn, we have our prayer circle and it happens 3 times a year. And February, I just came from Dr. Laser's office January the 29th. And on February the 6th, my wife has a prayer circle, and they had been meeting for 22 years at that time. They get together and they pray 3 times a year in February, May, and October. And it just happened to be that Mona wrote to them and said, McFinn is having a really hard time. We need to make this prayer circle be concentrating on his needs.
Oh,
So 22 people showed up in my living room. I was like, okay, I was feeling a little uncertain. And that's when I said to myself, McFinn, you better get uncertain out of here and just open yourself up to what might happen.
yeah. The more open your mind is, the more things happen.
Oh, it's we can close ourselves off and say, oh no. But I was sitting in my wheelchair. My hands were, in my lap. My arms could not move. And I'm sitting there, and they were just coming down with their prayers and their song. And a voice came right out of my mouth, and it said, thank you, everyone. Could you step back? I'm going to get out of my wheelchair. And everyone's mouth went wide open.
And you just stood right up?
I stood right up from being completely paralyzed, not completely. I could move my 2 fingers, but I could not move my arms, and I could not walk. And I stood right up out of my wheelchair, and I walked in a circle, and I came and I sat back down, and everybody is talking at once, like, what's happening? This was so unusual.
Yeah.
That 15 years, I don't tell that story too often.
Yeah.
So, but 15 years later, I'm just writing my book, and I contacted 3 of those ladies and I said, can you tell me what you prayed for and what you witnessed? And I have those 3 letters in my
Oh,
book.
wow. Okay.
It is incredible. So,
wow. We'll have to read your book.
yeah. Oh, the audio book. I have an audio book, the paper book, and a Kindle book. But the audio book, I actually relived that journey emotionally, physically, in my telling of the story.
Wow.
It really got to me. So that adventure in my life changed my life because I lost everything really quickly after that. All of that I gained, it all went away, and depression took its place.
Oh.
By 15 to 30 days later, I was considering stopping to eat. No more drinking, no more eating.
Oh.
It's like, what happened to me? How did that happen? How did it go away? Who's playing with me? I mean,
And you didn't want to be here for it.
no, not after, no, because once you know, Lisa, it's very confusing and it's very actually spooky. I mean, I have never witnessed a person in a prayer circle stand up out of their wheelchair.
Yeah.
And that's why I only give this story out to the people who need hope, because
you needed hope.
I needed hope. And it was really the only thing that was going to, the doctors gave me no hope.
Yeah.
It was my spiritual nature that told me to keep moving forward.
And what do you say to the naysayers, the people that say, oh, McFinn, that sounds kooky, you know, or whatever? What do you have to say to those people?
Very simple. I have 3 neurologists. I don't say that I had ALS. I have 3 neurologists who tell me, McFinn, you had ALS. Dr. Bedlack, when I gave my records to him, he said, McFinn, you had ALS.
Yeah.
And you reversed it. And I'm like, I wouldn't be saying any of this unless Dr. Bedlack verified that I reversed my ALS.
Yeah.
I do not want to give anybody false hope. This was a very personal healing and a very personal disease, because we all get them from a different source. So, Lisa, there's things that I do not know why. I have no idea about how these things happen.
Yeah.
But it's the reason that I'm here with you today, because what else am I supposed to do once something like that happens to you and you get your physical self back?
Yeah.
So now I'm an advocate for everyone with ALS.
Yeah. Tell us how you ended up connecting with the Everything ALS team. How did that start?
You know, things start with a phone call. It's amazing. I live deep in the forest. So how's somebody going to find me?
Yeah.
Well, my daughter has a yoga studio, and a young lady came for yoga one day, and my daughter said, you know, my dad had reversed ALS. And this person just happened to be Julia, a personal friend of Indu Navar.
Oh, okay.
And when she told Indu about me, the phone rang, and Indu asked me, McFinn, could you come and give Peter some hope?
Oh, yeah.
And I did. I started to talk to Peter for several weeks, and ALS got the best of Peter. And when that happened, that gave me, McFinn, you got a mission.
Yeah.
Come on. You're well now. All of these people who are out there, they need some hope. So Lisa, that was the beginning. And now it's almost been 2 years.
Yeah.
And in 2 years, we have progressed so far in our dedication.
Yeah.
And our mileage has proven to actually manifest, you know, I can't say everything that it's manifested, but it's manifested hope for people because they think that they can do something to help us.
Yes.
And that's medicine right there.
Yeah, for sure. So there's so many things that people learn throughout this journey, and so many emotions and things that you go through, and it's really a family that goes through the whole thing. So what would you say were your biggest, I mean, you shared some of them throughout this, but what would you say some of your top takeaways from this journey, if you want to just touch on some of that?
I would love to. And the number one is, I thought I was leaving this world.
Mhm.
That was very scary.
Yeah.
I have been working on my spirituality. I've been living it for over 50 years and still scared to death. It was like, you're leaving, McFinn. And I'm like, okay, well, I know where I'm going. I'm sure it's going to be okay. But still none of that really, who knows?
Yeah.
Do I know anything? Not really. I have a good story and I try to be helpful, but I really don't know a lot of things. I know that my personal faith was elevated. I mean, come on. I come on. I had this thing happen to me. I
Yeah.
got out of my wheelchair.
Yeah, that's
like I got out of my
amazing.
wheelchair twice.
Yes.
It's made me meditate. It's made me pray. It's made me stand still several times a day.
Yeah.
My life has become a prayer. In the middle of my busiest little thing that I'm doing, I stop and I just try to become blank and just try to become whatever is. Because
Just
whatever
wait.
is, no matter what
Yeah.
you and I think about it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I try to open myself up to God,
Mhm.
to a higher power, to anything that brings me into my heart. Because I really believe that this ALS journey that I went on made me fall in love with myself. It's
Oh.
like, I used to really like McFinn. And then when McFinn couldn't do much, I was like, McFinn, what worth are you now? And that's when I had one of my biggest openings. I was sitting at the table. I couldn't, my caretaker was making lunch. Mona was out in the garden. I looked at everybody and I said, wow, these people, I feel I'm so helpless. And right then a little voice said, McFinn, did you forget about me? I'm inside. I'm right inside here. You can talk to me. I'm your spirit. And really, I had given over all my worth to what I could physically do. No, that's a very short-sighted person.
Yeah. There's still a lot more that you can offer.
Oh, we're here for 50, 80, 100 years, maybe 120. You never know. But then we're out of here.
I don't know if I want to be here for 120, but
Hey, you just need to take ballroom dance lessons and
okay.
you'll be walking through it. Anyway, Lisa, the essence of our life, well, let's put it this way. The essence of my life came to me and it said, McFinn, you're a spiritual being having a physical experience. What do you think of that? And I'm like, I didn't choose this one. I didn't ask for it. But I think it's really valuable. Not being able to move really teaches you your value. And so I now look in the mirror. I'll share this with you. This is how I pray right now. I look in the mirror, I say my prayer, and then I close my eyes and I let that being that's looking at me talk to me. And it's been very successful. The little voices that come back to me, there is a communication with an inner part of you. You just need to open up yourself and believe it. Even fake it till you make it.
Fake it. You do that. Yeah, that's always my thing.
Yeah.
Well, good information on just like really opening up and looking within yourself and having hope. And one more quick question you could share with people. Any other advice to add to that? Obviously, looking within, praying, loving yourself. I mean, you shared so many great insights. Is there anything you left out that you want to share?
Well, the obvious. The obvious is that we're here today and everything seems to be okay. But I got in my car and I drove to town and I got in an accident and I died this afternoon.
Mm.
That can happen to anybody.
Yeah.
We never know when our
Yeah.
last minute is.
Mhm.
And so my advice to myself is
Mhm.
50% in the world doing everything as good as you can,
Yeah.
and 50% in prayer, meditation, and silence, and going outside. You know, we're mammals.
Mm.
We really need to get out of these four walls that we find ourselves in all the time. We need to go out and actually scratch a little bit of that dirt and smell it and see, you know, everything that you see came out of the earth.
Mm.
So let's get back to actually, I don't want to say praising the earth, let's say respecting the earth and respecting our part, and that we want our grandchildren to feel that grandpa and grandma and grandpa took me to the park. Grandma and grandma took me to the forest.
Mhm.
I'm going to take my children to the park and to the
Mhm.
forest.
Yeah.
It's just something that we need to break the four walls and all the busyness that we have. Being outside, being silent, being part of nature. You don't have to do anything. Just
Yeah.
go out there and be.
And it doesn't cost any money. And, you know, today with technology and everybody's shut within their four walls on whatever device is their choice. Words from the wise, McFinn. So I think it would help. You know, we love technology because technology can help better patient outcomes and better people's lives. But, you know, if you don't use it wisely, it can also be quite destructive. So hopefully people can take away from this as well. Get outside, go for a hike, go for a walk, just sit in your backyard, breathe.
That's right.
It's, yeah. So I want to thank you so much for sharing your story, because I know it's hard to, you know, go back and relive and rethink, but it's important to share this. And your story is very different from my brother's story, who's no longer with us, and so many others. So you truly are one of the fortunate, and I'm sure you feel that every minute of every day. And I appreciate all of your big heart and dedication for your time that you've so selfishly dedicated and given to others. It's really a gift. So we're so honored to have you on the Everything ALS team, and so glad that you're here to help with everything you help with. I mean, your time and has been so generous. You've given so much of your time generously and your heart, and it's been an honor to get to know you, McFinn. So thank you.
Lisa, it is an honor to be part of Everything ALS. I'm 70 now, and I have a direction in my life, and the direction is straight to each of you who are listening to this today. Contact us. We have some hope, we have some compassion, we have some understanding, and most of all, we have an extended family, and we'd love for all of you to join it. Thank you. And once again, Lisa, thank you for all you do, because together we can make a difference.
Thank you, McFinn.
All right. Thank you, everyone, for listening. Bye for now.
Thank you for joining us in our journey of exploration and digging deep into the souls of those affected by ALS and those working tirelessly to help put an end to this devastating disease. Your stories and work matter so much to us and to so many. Keep sharing and continuing to help further the research in ALS so we don't have to see another person suffer. Are you a researcher, neurologist, pharma, or biotech company working in the ALS space? If so, we would love to hear from you. For more information, please visit everythingals.org, or you can contact us at info@everythingals.org. Thank you.